All right, so I'm going to stop sharing, but while I'm introducing our speaker today, she's going to share her own slides. So I'd love to introduce to you today Red Miller. Red describes herself as a biodynamic home birth midwife, guiding thousands of women across more than 10 countries to experience the birth of their dreams. Her unique approach provides women with tools to build support structures, navigate the health system, and transform their fears into positive action. She has lived and practiced in Asia for nearly 2 decades. One of Red's focus areas is supporting women to heal from difficult births using biodynamic craniosacral therapy bodywork and EMDR techniques, along with the compassionate listening and holistic coaching. Red works both virtually and in person and currently calls Malaysia home. She's also an author, and her first book is titled From Fear to Love, Your Guide to a Fearless Magical Birth. So thank you, Red. I'll hand over to you and welcome.
Thank you, Linda, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you, everybody, for joining this session today. I'm so happy and excited to be here on International Day of the Midwife. So just adding to that, yes, I'm a biodynamic home birth midwife. I'm going to share with you today what that means. Midwifery has been a very winding journey for me over nearly 2 decades, many different countries. I've practiced in so many different ways, from rice paddies to royal palaces, the lowest resort settings without running water, to the most luxurious homes and environments, illiterate moms to high-powered CEOs. And every single one, of course, has taught me everything I know, not only about birth, but also about life. A few of the other special areas of interest that I have in midwifery that have really shaped my path is biodynamics and also fear. Specifically, how to notice it, explore it, and then become friends with it. So yes, I have been in Asia for a long time, since 2007. Here in Malaysia, midwives are called bidans. And across all of the countries, cultures, and conditions that I've worked in, one thing became really clear to me. There are so many different types of midwives and so many different ways to practice that I really started on a deep dive to explore within myself, what kind of a midwife am I? What is the language that best describes what I do and the principles that I hold? So this was the book that I published when I was pregnant with my son in 2016. And even before that, I was training as a biodynamic craniosacral therapist. And this is when I really deep dived into the world of biodynamics, because I was really fortunate that my teachers were really experts in the field of the specifically biodynamic practice. And I was completely hooked and amazed how beautifully these principles really mirrored my work as a midwife. So at that time, for my final graduation paper in BCST, I wrote about the interweaving of these two worlds, the midwifery and the biodynamics. That was the birthplace of these 5 biodynamic pillars that I want to share with you today. They're so close to my heart, and they literally inform everything about my practice. And I feel so excited and nervous today because actually it's the first time that I'm sharing my view of biodynamic midwifery with the world, or with anyone really, because I'm in solo practice, so I don't have much community to share with. So let's get into it. So the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of biodynamics, what is it? It's usually farming, right? So just like midwifery, there are so many different ways to farm. For example, conventional farming, right, focuses on maximizing yield, using synthetic fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, It's often prioritizing efficiency and scale over ecological balance and sustainability. And the impacts on the soil are really visible, right? So it's depleted, it's polluted, it's stripped of its vitality, and it's part of the reason why our global population is getting sicker. Biodynamic farming, on the other hand, treats the land as a living, breathing organism connected to the moon, the seasons, the animals, the plants, the unseen forces that shape life. Biodynamic is not about control, it's about partnership. It's about respect, it's about listening. So in this presentation, we're going to experience biodynamic midwifery visually by watching this family expand from a family of 3 to a family of 6. There's a lot of photos, and my invitation is to notice how they make you feel. You'll see a grandmother, a sister, the whole family participating in different ways throughout the births. So, of course, I am beyond grateful that the family gave me permission to use their photos, and also to the wonderful photographer, Katie. She's also a dear friend. You could find her on Instagram, please do. She is the unison photo. So these are the 5 main pillars of biodynamic practice. So the first one, respecting the guiding intelligence. We acknowledge that everything is shaped by forces. From soil to our bodies, these forces are beyond measure. We tend to the internal ecosystem, so recognizing that energy and emotions affect outcomes. We also tend to the physical soil of the woman, using natural remedies and not harsh chemicals. We build relationship, acknowledging that trust is the fertile ground for healthy relational fields, which produces the very best, most juicy roots and growth in plants. And we use touch over tech. So knowing that machines monitor and touch attunes. So as you see the photos, just keep an eye on this big brother. His name is Nathaniel. He's attended 3 births with me and his family. Here he is at 2.5. He is ready to welcome his first surprise baby sister. As we see the photos, I will go into these 5 principles in more detail. So the first one, respecting the guiding intelligence. So in biodynamics, the farmers work with spiritual forces, energy fields, and intention, trusting in the potency of the forces behind the growth of the seeds. This is not a religion. It's about a deep connection to nature. The body, like the earth, is governed by organizing principles, and biodynamic midwives hold respect for the guiding intelligence that is always present. We're often quiet, present, and out of the way, internally attuned so that we can hold a clear awareness of the tone and the dynamics in the entire room. We intuitively step in when we're needed to support as the forces move through the tissues and this entire soma of the woman. And we intuitively stand back when we are not needed. Just as biodynamic farmers listen to the land, we listen to the rhythms of the body. I just lost my cursor. Sorry, give me a second. Okay, there it is. We trust in the innate wisdom and individual rhythm. We trust in birth and in mother's capacity and capability. We trust the baby's intuitive wisdom, knowing that when they need help, they know how to ask us and how to show us. We honor this organizing, guiding intelligence rather than attempting to manage it. So the second pillar is tending the internal ecosystem. Biodynamic care is inherently holistic. So that means we honor a woman's internal terrain, her emotions, her feelings are as equal as important as her physical body. So that means we offer really feelings-focused prenatal care. It's really essential to this model. As we know, pregnancy can be a minefield, and as midwives, we're often the first safe space that she has to explore what's going on in her internal world. So we become really conscious of our language because we know that words matter and they create ripples. So as her body changes, so does her worldview. Her relations start to shift her relationships. She often is revisiting her relationship with her own mother, seeing it in a new light. She might be feeling more anxious than ever. Even the most independent woman, in my experience, may suddenly feel really vulnerable and deeply dependent, and that can be incredibly uncomfortable for her. And we are available for all of this, while also being clear with our own boundaries and capacities. Our health is equally as important as that of the family that we serve. Holding the space for her is both a privilege and a responsibility. So we say a clear no when we need to. We can only grow the biggest, most beautiful, expressive flowers when we have space, when we've made space to explore and work with fear. Because fear can dampen everything and change everything, and certainly doesn't give us the best outcomes. And that includes our own fears just as much as it includes hers and everyone else in the room. So what I know to be true is when we're in honest relationship with our own fears is when we can truly help her to befriend hers. And this is a really, really essential component of biodynamic midwifery. So this is the 6-step model that I developed and wrote about in my book. To proactively explore fear and discover what gifts are there, what it has to teach us. It's really impactful. I use it for myself all the time. I would love to share more with you, but that is for another day. So here we are with the pillars, and now we're going on to number 3, tending to the physical soil, the next birth in the family. So our body is clever. It's sensitive, it's self-healing ecosystem, and it's always striving for balance. Biodynamic midwifery sees the mother-baby dyad as a delicate, interconnected system, highly responsive, sometimes reactive, to chemicals, interventions, language, and environment. So we support her to keep her soil really vibrant and fertile by offering care that is close to nature as possible. So we're minimizing negative effects on her ecosystem. So that means that whenever we're counseling for, the normal things, coughs, colds, candida, heartburn, and constipation, we want to have a really sharpened knowledge base of holistic tools. So we can use herbs, homeopathy, vitamins, supplement, lifestyle changes. Those are always our go-to first options. Because just like a biodynamic farmer, we like to avoid synthetic fertilizers. We don't jump to allopathy and pharmaceutical remedies. We don't use them or ultrasounds or vaginal exams routinely. Instead, we keep the tools in our toolkit and use them with discernment when truly needed. And this is how we preserve the body's innate ability to balance and heal itself. So coming to the 4th principle, the importance of the relational field, relationship built on trust. I love this one. It's really the heart of biodynamic midwifery. We know that when love and trust are present, that's when so much transformation can occur, because after all, the baby is born into the field between the parents, the midwife, and everyone else in the room. I really loved this morning in Jessica Bromley's keynote, she said, the magic sauce is in the relationship of trust. And I was like, yes, it is. Of course, in the birth space, there are so many relationships to consider, but we're just going to look at 3 of them. So relationship with her midwife. We know the studies show trust with a caregiver reports higher satisfaction, fewer interventions. And we also know that trust is not automatic. It must be earned and nurtured over time. Then we're also really curious about her relationship with herself. Does she trust her body and her instincts? Sometimes we may want to help her to grow this. And we do that. We help her to grow her intuition by not making decisions for her, but by creating space for her to hear and follow her own inner knowing. Guiding a woman to trust her intuition is really, really core part of biodynamics. So the next relationship is that with her baby, and the most sacred relationship in the room. We know that not all women are ready to connect with their babies during pregnancy, and we respect their own individual timing. But whenever appropriate prenatally, we do gently invite her to feel and familiarize herself with the baby's position, notice its rhythm, the movement, emotions. I always ask, is your baby awake right now? You know, what is the quality it's presenting with right now? Is it curious? Is it playful? And I really find it's really these small invitations that deepen connection, build confidence, and really support the co-regulation. Last pillar. So number 5 is the therapeutic value of touch. In biodynamic midwifery, presence is one of our most powerful interventions. Sometimes that presence lives in silence, and sometimes it lives in our hands. Here you see Nathaniel, big brother, instinctively helping to facilitate touch. He knows the value of this connection. And when we look back on all of the photos that we've seen so far, think about how much touch nutrition has been present in each and every moment. There is research from the Touch Institute. There's over 100 studies that show, the amazing benefits of therapeutic touch, like accelerating growth in premature babies, reducing pain, strengthening immune function. Wait, I want to go back to this slide, and I want to say, we can see here in biodynamic care that we take our time. Here you see the baby is still attached to its cord. The placenta is yet to be birthed. We're still in the process, and we're still really with the body. As midwives, we need to stay really embodied ourselves, especially in these moments. And we do that by holding awareness internally within our own bodies. We feel our spine, we feel our feet, we connect to our breath, we connect to our heart, we feel the front of our body, the sides of our body, the back of our body. And all of this awareness really helps us to stay really grounded and in tune so that our fear is not leading. Physical touch, we know, is missing so much from modern maternity care. In the conventional model, I hear all the time women going through an entire pregnancy without her belly ever once being intentionally touched. Machines have replaced hands. This form of communication is missing, even though we know through our hands we learn so much: baby's position, baby's growth, baby's rhythm, the mother's warmth, her tension, her relaxation. We learn so much about her emotional landscape through touch. And of course, our touch has a quality about it. It's intentional, it's in tuned, it's respectful, it helps to build safety and trust. We know the women that we're working with, so we also know when touch is not appropriate, because for some women it's not. Here you see Big Brother Nathaniel confidently cutting the cord on his own, doing it so confidently because of the co-regulation that is in the space. A small but essential practice that I've held for years is that before I palpate any belly, I always ask, can I touch your belly? I was so surprised because I had a midwife who, a student midwife, an apprentice who worked with me for a few years. And after she graduated and went to the States and joined a group practice, she was like, wow, Red, there's nobody in my group practice that asks this question consistently. And for me, I feel, it's such a simple gesture, but it's not just polite, it's foundational, because it keeps the ownership of the women's body with them. It builds trust. It reinforces what biodynamic midwifery is about, which is collaboration, not control. So there we have it. Those are our 5 pillars of biodynamic midwifery. And so I would say that this is more important today than ever, because obviously our world is so obsessed with speed, data control, and biodynamic principles really help us they remind us to slow down and to get into our own bodies, to trust life, and to partner with the process instead of managing it. And this shift is really not just supportive, it's disruptive. It's activism, it's rebellion. I believe in it so deeply. And as midwives, we're on the front line of this revolution every single day. So keeping these 5 pillars in mind, here is the final birth with this family, at least until July, because we'll be welcoming baby number 5 together in a few months. So have a look at this face, right? Fierce determination, confidence, strong organizational forces, safe, supported relational field, and vibrant soil. So when this clear space is held for the baby to connect to its own intuition, following its own organizing principles, it's going to birth itself. The most beautiful. Look at this series. So once again, biodynamic midwifery, like farming, nurtures the whole ecosystem physically, emotionally, and energetically by trusting the body's wisdom and rhythm. We tend to the inner fields and the outer fields, just as a biodynamic, loving farmer tends to his soil with reverence, intention, and love. As we watch the rest of this birth story unfold towards completion, and as the presentation also comes to an end, I invite you to take a quiet moment to reflect. What is the biggest factor that shapes the way you practice midwifery today? Is it the exposures that you've had, the current midwives that you work with, your protocols, your state licensing board, your preceptors? And secondly, ask yourself if the way that you're currently practicing is in line with the rhythms of your intuitive heart, or is there a misalignment? And if there is a misalignment, I invite you to explore what small, gentle action you could begin to bring you back into alignment of why you're practicing and how you would like to be practicing. And ask yourself, maybe, could embodying biodynamic principles be a part of that? When a woman returns to the wild wisdom of her body, we're doing more than supporting a birth. We're dismantling centuries of silencing. Each moment that she chooses her own rhythm her yes and her no. She rewrites the narrative. This is not passive support. This is holy rebellion. This is biodynamic midwifery. And the only way that we can practice it is when we intentionally work on our own internal terrain. This is such a key place that I would love to do more work with more midwives in the world on. So in closing, let's remember Nathaniel, seasoned big brother. In this photo, this is his third birth. He's 6.5. And I interviewed him last week in preparation for this presentation. And he describes birth as happy. He told me that he never got nervous or scared during any of the 3 births, and he felt so proud to cut the cords of his siblings. He thinks all older siblings should be present for birth, and he recommends reading books so that you know what's going to happen, so you don't get surprised. He thinks it might be confusing to be born, that dark space and then into a big open light space, and the babies will be less confused when they get to go straight to their moms. He said midwives help when babies are being born, and the best part of our job is getting to see babies getting born, and that the hardest part of our job is always having to get ready at random times of the day or the night. Boy, was he right about that. Very intuitive. I asked him if there was one word he would use to describe birth, what would it be? And he said, emotional. So thank you all for being here and for the work that you do and for the care that you bring to birth. I hope this is maybe a small seed that helps to nourish your practice in the days and the births to come, because the way that we midwife matters. Every touch, every pause, every word. May we keep choosing love over fear, presence over protocol, and wild wisdom over control. Thank you so much for being here and allowing me to present. And I would love to stay connected with you all. You can find me on Instagram. Thank you.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thanks so much, Red. I feel that we're very privileged to have heard you share that for the first time. Biodynamic midwifery is something that I think has been very interesting. I love the way that you described it with the biodynamics of farming and things like that, because we're all just part of the earth. We've got time for some questions, so I'll just go over and see what we've got going over here on this side. But thank you. We've got lots of out of the mouth of babes, Ellie said. Yes, that's a very intuitive one, little man, isn't it? And we've got a comment here. I completely agree with him. That's why dimming lighting aside is helping with hormonal factors that can help with our babies. Now, Linda Wiley has asked, do you share your midwives' wisdom with midwives online?
So this is the work that I am stepping into. I actively have not been, but this is very much the area that I'm going into. I really want to help to mentor and teach biodynamics in birth and how we hold that with ourselves. And specifically, again, this fear work, I just feel is so essential. So yes, it's coming.
I think there's lots of people going, yay, about that, particularly with so many countries in the world really listening to women properly at the moment about birthing trauma. Women's voices are raising up and midwives' voices are going up with them, but sometimes we don't always have the tools. So again, amazing presentation and images. They were fantastic. Thank you for your insightful presentation. And from Rizka in Indonesia, hopefully I've said that right. She's really interested in learning more about how you apply the concept of biodynamic midwifery in practical settings, especially in diverse cultural contexts like Indonesia. Could you please elaborate how fear exploration is conducted within families and how you support the transition from fear to love during the perinatal period? She'd also love to hear more about the specific tools or approaches you use to help mothers reconnect with their own intuition. So a couple of questions within that.
Yeah, I love that question. And I actually in this presentation, I really wanted to go into that model of fear, but then I realized without kind of giving a basis of what biodynamics meant, it didn't make sense to talk about that piece specifically. So I'm saving that for another presentation. But it comes up really naturally and intuitive in prenatal care. So it's not appropriate for every visit, but sometimes we just have a little bit more of a window, right? We can see, I love to let mothers lead. So usually they will start talking about like, wow, I'm really nervous about tearing, or I'm nervous about, this specific part of the birth. And so I use that as a segue to really say, there's so many cultures, especially in Asia, but in many parts of the world where there's a lot of stigma about, well, in the whole world, law of attraction, right? If I give too much attention to it, I'm like gonna create that thing. It's gonna come to be. So rather than talk about it, I better just stuff it. And I take the exact opposite approach. So as soon as a woman starts sharing her fears with me, I'm always like, this is brilliant. It's name it to tame it in my world. Like if you're stuffing it, it's only attracting more because your emotions are still in that place. It's like the big white elephant in the room. So let's talk about it. So we demystify it. Is this fear fact, fiction? Is it based on some cultural thing that your mom told you? So we dig into what is the fear. Is it actual, factual, or a mystery, a myth? And then we start working on action steps for prevention. So, okay, if I am terrified of tearing, then what are all of the things that I'm going to do to prevent that from happening? So I'm going to get my nutrition up. I'm going to get my healthy fats. I'm going to make sure I'm not zinc deficient. We're going to test some blood stuff. We're going to really bring attention to our perineums. We're going to get to know that part of our body. It's not going to be this strange, mysterious place. We're going to maybe use the epino if we want. We're going to do more perineal massage, not because the tissue needs to learn how to stretch, but because our minds need to learn how to stretch. So we just do all the proactive steps, and then we explore, okay, and if it does happen, how are we going to deal with that? So we get our sitz baths ready and our Epsom salts, and we talk about whether we want to be stitched or not and what that looks like. And so it's really just about stepping through everything, and then after we do that, we kind of check in and say, okay, how do I feel now that I've explored that? I feel a bit lighter, actually. And then the sixth step, then we go into a reframe. So we know, okay, now that I've done all of that work, I'm more connected to myself. I'm more connected to the fear. I'm more connected to it's probably not going to happen. Or if it does, I know what to do about it. And let me go back to imagining that amazing outcome that is my plan A. So it's so old, in my opinion, to just like slap an affirmation on top of something where we're just like, my body knows what to do. My baby knows how to be birthed. And we say the fear and then we slap it with an affirmation. I'm like, no, 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 no. Let's do all the work and then, create an affirmation that is more accessible, not so far away. And it's so beautiful. It just opens up so much space. And then I think the second part of your question is that just naturally turns into, you know, the sessions when the partner is in the room and asking if there's anything that they're worried about, or if what they know about their births, or, you know, so we're just always like curiously uncovering things. And then it's the same with the kids, right? And the grandma. If the grandma's going to be there, I love to talk to the grandmas, you know, what are you holding about birth? So it is really, again, about just taking the time. And for me, it would be impossible to help someone to really clearly step through her fears if I didn't have that strong relationship with my own. So this is where midwives doing our own inner work is just so essential. We can't do it otherwise. It's too obvious that we don't know what we're talking about.
I think that was a beautiful answer to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think there was just some other really lovely comments about what you had to say, and that I think we'll all be looking forward to you sharing more about this in the future. So thank you.